want no drama, I don't want no hate. I'm just trying to make sure all my people straight. I'm just trying to give you everything I am. I'm just trying to give you living water fam. Won't it do it? Yeah, it brought me through it, nah. Won't it do it?
All right, and welcome to the Where Were We Again podcast. This is episode 15. Man, I am so excited about this episode. So first and foremost, in case you didn't know, the Where Were We Again podcast is just a podcast where we sit down and have a conversation with those involved in music. It is fun, it is fantastic, and sometimes we get lost in our conversation and we go, hey, wait a second, where were we again? Oh, yeah, that's right. And hence the name. Anyways, so this week is really cool, really special. I am super excited about this. I am sitting down with a brand new band, okay? You might not have heard the name of this band yet. Shame on you. Anyways, this band is called Heal the Hurt, and I'm talking with Trevor. Trevor, I'm so glad you got to make this. Man, we've got so many good things to talk about. Welcome to the podcast.
Man, thank you so much for having me, Andrew. I'm excited. Like I was telling you beforehand, I got to listen to the episode that you did with Miss Mary Nickel, and I'm just grateful to be here.
Yeah, fantastic. So, man, let's get this thing rolling. So, Heal the Hurt, brand new band. Tell me about this band. How did you guys get this thing started?
Yeah, so Heal the Hurt started coming together around March of the last year, so March of 2023. And I had just come out of a season of being severely just burnt out and just mentally clustered all over the place. In September of 2022, I ended up in the ER from severe burnout, exhaustion, dehydration, you name it. I was not in a good space. And it was right after the success of our Choose to Live live stream with heart support. And it's like, I kind of had a realization sitting in a hospital bed, and I'm like, man, I just did this event with all these like rock giants telling people to choose to live, and here I am not wanting to. So I didn't try to end my life or anything, but all of the actions that I was making were impacting me negatively. And it came from a place of burnout, and it came from a place of trying to be everything for everybody and not really knowing what a work-life balance is. I also own a media agency, so like being a workaholic on that front and rejecting taking care of myself was a big factor in that. So had that realization. It wasn't like Benny Hinn slapped me in the face and I was healed or anything. It was a process of learning how to live with myself, right? Unlearning habits that I had made and unlearning things that were holding me down. So in that healing process, I had never had like a ambition to start a band before. I'd always wanted to. I genuinely didn't know I could. So I had an idea called Heal the Hurt, and I knew I could scream, right? I had done it in my car for years, but I didn't know I could write, and I didn't know I could do all this stuff. And to be honest with you, I didn't have vision for it. So it was always, I'm going to be on the back end and then doing podcast stuff and help promote music. Going through all the motions and everything, I ended up finally gaining my physical health and my mental health back with the creation of these songs, essentially. So Heal the Hurt started from a place of brokenness, and it's literally me trying to give someone something that I needed, which was metalcore, all throughout my middle and high school years. That helped heal the hurt in my life. And so now, like being able to have the potential to help someone else heal the hurt in their life with my songs and my stories and my emotions, that's where Heal the Hurt came from. It's not really a band name, it's a statement. We're all on a healing journey, no matter where we are at in it. We could all pick up and accept at some point or another we've got things that we could heal from in our life. So it started from a place of hurt, and I'm still healing. I'm still figuring it out, and I'm getting to release songs that I'm really proud of and put a lot of hard work into and work with a lot of close friends on. And Yeah, that's Heal the Hurt in a nutshell.
Wow. I mean, that's okay. I got to stop. That's just so much amazing. Like that's a lot, and that's a fantastic story. I mean, it blows me away, right? Like I think that's some of the most impactful stories, and some of the best bands and truly music comes from places like that. Some of those deep, dark, hurtful places, and
Yeah.
being able to take that and turn that into art and music, and then being able to take that and turn that around and actually change somebody else's life who's in that place through that. I mean, you guys are set up to make such a huge difference just already, right? I mean,
Encouraging. Thank you.
this week, so just some fun. I went and I asked her, like, "Hey, Mary, is there any cool people I should bring on my podcast?" And she said, "Hey, check out this band, Heal the Hurt." So here we are, right? And
Yeah.
I hadn't heard of Heal the Hurt before, and so I basically have been sitting there listening to Ruin and Withering and and just listening to these songs over and over and over again, right? And they're fantastic, and I can feel the motion, and I can feel that story through those that you're writing. So it's really, really cool to get to hear that story behind that a little bit. But I mean, I'm telling you, it blows me away just how I think some signs of how big of an impact you guys are going to have are some of the things like, hey, you've got this brand new song from a brand new band called Ruin that ended up being like the 6 best new songs from on Revolver magazine. Like, what? That's
that was
wow.
I that was not planned. We don't have connections with Revolver. I learned about it from seeing a spike in our YouTube like analytics, and then diving in and seeing where like traffic is coming from. And I went into like external sources or whatever, and it said Revolver Mag, and I was like, that has to be a mistake. So I refreshed the screen, and then I scrolled back down, and I was like, I refresh it like 10 times, and it's like 2 a.m. because that's when my creative moves, right?
Right.
So I refresh it like 6 times, and then I go to Revolver Magazine, and I see a picture of Fit for a King, and it says best 6 songs right now or whatever it was. And I clicked it, and I just scrolled down. It's like Fit for a King, Fit for an Autopsy, all these bands that are way bigger and cooler, a bunch of label bands, really. And then the last one, there's my angry little hobbit self, angry and screaming, and I was stunned. I reached out to them after I saw that, and I was like, I don't know how you found this, but like, you just made an independent band's dream. Like, this is wild. I'm blown away still. It's like, and the graphic made us look a lot cooler than we actually are. I'm like genuinely just like, I don't know how this happened, but I'm so grateful. We don't expect anything like that, especially the Ruin music video. We shot 1 week before Ruin came out. So it was 7 days away from not having a music video.
Wow.
Just because creating music and music videos is very expensive. I was on the way to Birmingham to perform a song with a friend, and I had some other friends that were like, hey, we want to come see her perform. We're going to bring our cameras and stuff. Like, we want to shoot some content. I'm like, all right, cool. Come on. I'll put you on the list, whatever. And on the way there, I had this itch. I was like, I've had this idea to do a solo music video for this song for the past 8 months. There just hasn't been budget. I wonder if they would be open to just shooting it and then just doing it,
Right.
So I called Anna and Brent Reese of Reese Media up, and I was like, hey, I've got this idea. I have no money to put into it, but would you be open to shooting this? And they didn't hesitate, and they jumped in. They got to the venue, picked me up at the door. We went down the road in downtown Birmingham, no location scouted, no help. We had 2 hours before I had to be back to do a song, and we got it done. And our editor, John F. Media, he got it turned around in 6 days.
Wow.
And so it was very last minute, and it was a total God thing that it actually happened, because like I said, I wanted to do that video for 8 months. There just wasn't budget to do it. There were angles and stuff I wish we could have done differently, but for not even 2 hours to shoot, and the music video getting turned around in less than 6 days for coming out that next Thursday, I'm super proud of it. And Revolver, and just to humble the playing field here, they said part of the appeal for this is the adorably low budget music video and how aggressively talented and emotional the vocalist is. And I was like, hey, look, like, we just got humbled, like, adorably low budget music video. And I'm like, cool. Like, I hope this inspires other people that maybe won't have a music video to step out and do something different. Because essentially, this is a hip hop video. This is a rap video. I was like, what would MGK do? And I went and watched Rap Devil. Don't go watch that. It's very terrible, very terrible. It's a vulgar song. But I was like, man, this is a simple video. Like, I'd love to do something like this in metal. So I used that as inspiration for what we got in Ruin. And I was just what we call degenting, what you would see in a mosh pit, just in an abandoned under an overpass in downtown Birmingham. So
that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Nothing was planned. Doing the like I'm the king of nothing thing, that wasn't planned. It was just on the spot, and I'm really proud of the video. It was so much fun, and I think we'll do a lot more stuff like that. It was refreshing not to have to pre-plan a bunch of stuff. It's like, hey, like, let's just try to shoestring something together. So,
man, that is just, I love that, right? And again, that speaks just to what I was just saying, right? It's like, I feel like you guys are already on the verge of just getting ready to make a huge impact. Maybe not like, and maybe who knows where this goes, right? Maybe you guys are going to be on these massive tours, going to big club shows all the way up to, you know, like starting maybe arena tours in the future. I don't know, but just impacting people's lives. Like, you doing the writing you've already done has already caught that attention, right? Your passion, your emotion, everything you are is showing through what you've done so far. So I think that's amazing, right? That not many bands can pull that off. And I think I'm just excited to see where it goes. Just what you've told about Ruin already says, you know, it's kind of funny. This is the second episode where we've brought on some new theme music. DeMac let us use his song, Won't He Do It? And it was just perfect, right? It's a rap. Now, it's funny because here I'm on a podcast talking with a metal artist with the rap song opening. It's great. But the song's called Won't He Do It, right? And it's just like, hey, you know what? No matter what, like, he's going to do it. And it's just be like, yeah, watch him. Won't he do it? Like, look at this, you know? And I think this is just, and the reason I picked that, right, is because we've had so many stories on this podcast just like this. Like, you're sitting there scrolling through YouTube, like, why is this song suddenly getting a huge spike? And you're like, well, won't he do it? You know, so it's just really a great tie together. And so I just wanted to take a second to point that out. But man, I'm excited for all of this, right? But let's dig deeper into this EP you've just released, right? We're 2 weeks out. It just got released. Look, if you're listening to this episode and you haven't already heard it, please stop. Put pause on this. This is the great thing about podcasts. You can walk away from them and come back to them. Go listen to the EP, okay? It's amazing, right? I love all kinds of music. Metal's great. It's not my number one thing I'm always having in my ears, but it's something I do listen to quite frequently, and this is going to be in my ears for a while.
Wow.
So go listen to it, right? Go hear what we're talking about, and then come back and hear what we have to say about it, right? So anyways, pausing. All right, now that you're back, let's talk about this a little bit, right? So you've had a lot of really amazing people involved in this project. All right. So let's talk about, like, first and foremost, who played on this project, right? So Trevor, you're obviously our screamer here.
Yep.
Well, who else we got involved in the music here?
So let's start with the producing, like the instruments and stuff. The first producer I worked with was Nick Gregory, who is also in a band called as Fire Falls.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yep.
He produced Forgiving the Sickness. He co-produced Withering with Joel Isler from Cliffside, and then he produced Where Our Hearts Divide. So Where Our Hearts Divide was actually the first song that was finished in general for the project. Then Withering, and then everything else kind of came into play. In the singles, two of the singles were produced. The first one co-produced by Joel and Nick. Second one produced by Nick. Ruins the first one that was produced by Pat Sheckett from Convictions, which you can kind of hear that Convictions flair in there, right?
Oh yeah.
It's a very heavy song, and I wrote pretty much this whole thing with Mike Felker of Convictions, who's
Who
the
was
vocalist,
just on our last episode, by the way.
Yeah, y'all pause this and go listen to that one. He's a lot cooler than I am.
Waiting. All right, welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back. He was like the second call I made. So the first call I made was to Josh Sturm, who's the husband of Lacey Sturm. And I was like, I want to start a band. Will you play guitar? He's like, yeah, sure. And Lacey's doing the Flyleaf reunion. They had an album they were working on. They have 3 kids. They are all over the place. So it was like, I just needed the encouragement and like somebody to say, I believe in you. Right.
All right.
So the second call I made was to Mike Felker. Then I was working with As Fire Falls on their rollout. So I had Nick help write the first few songs. And Alec Gregory, who is our bass player and clean vocalist, which since this isn't a predominantly metal listening show, like the audience listens a lot of CCM and everything in between. In metal music, there are screaming vocals and there are clean vocals. So I do some cleans and mostly screams, and then Alec does mainly all the cleans and some screams.
Sure.
He's also has a band called Fighting Regress that's a lot heavier than we are. We just had so many amazing people working on this project. The chorus for Withering I wrote with Josh Bramlett from The Protest. Jared Bramlett from The Protest is our drummer for now. And we haven't talked about it much, but Jared is like, we're working on some stuff to potentially do some shows with some, can't really talk much about it, but Jared will play some shows with us, but Jared isn't a staple member in our band.
Sure.
He doesn't write in the band. He's our drummer until like we either start touring more than he can since he's in The Protest, or like whatever it may come. Like for now, like Jared's our guy. He's struggled with anxiety and depression in his life. And I was like, I don't want to have anybody representing this that doesn't really understand what I've gone through and what I go through. In fact, the Where Hearts Divide and Withering music video we shot in, I think it's called Maumee, Ohio. It's right out of Toledo. And it was right in front of this huge lake, which we didn't get in the music video, but it was in a cabin because I grew up going to log cabins and stuff like that. So I'm a country dude. So of course I wanted our first press shots to be in a log cabin. And I think it's kind of dumb that metal bands all are like in a colored room or this or that. And I'm like, I'm sure we'll do it in the future, but our first like thing to come in with needs to be a log cabin. So that's what we did.
It looks great. I'm not gonna lie. I'm actually looking at it right now. It looks, it's different. It is. I love the fact you did something different. Anyways, keep going. Sorry.
So many people told me not to do that, and I'm like, shut up. Like, I'm gonna do what I want to do. So we did that, and the band and the cinematographer, who, fun fact, I haven't discussed this anywhere. Our cinematographer, John, used to be in the band Convictions, and I met him through Convictions because he shoots all their videos. He played guitar in our Where Our Hearts Divide music video and the Withering music video, and nobody's caught it. So
that's fantastic.
I've never talked about it. And yeah, that's John. So the guy that filmed everything is playing guitar in those 2 videos because we don't have a guitar player yet. The day everyone came in to film the videos, I was in bed while everybody was setting up, and I couldn't get out because I was just crippled with anxiety. And it was hard. It was hard for me to get out. I heard them like testing the drums and laughing and cutting up, and I'm still in bed. Like, I just feel like garbage. Like, I don't want to get up. And one of my friends and clients is Sonny Sandoval from the band POD, and they had just put a song out the week before called I Won't Bow Down. The pain today is power tomorrow. I won't bow down. No matter what they say, I wouldn't have it any other way. I won't bow down. And I shot him a text and then got my little motivation talk out of it. And I started playing the song, and I went and took an ice cold shower and put my clothes on and went in there. And everybody's like, man, you acted really emotional in that music video. And I didn't want to do the music video that day. I didn't feel good. I didn't feel like headbanging around. I didn't feel like lip syncing and all the things that you have to do for a music video shoot. So instead of like what a normal person, I guess, would do is like, let me just fake a smile. Like, no, it translated into the video. That's what the song's about. I was withering that day. I did not feel like doing the video. And a lot of people have reached out and said, as a male, you don't get to hear or see men talk about struggling with anxiety like that. So I know when I was struggling, I couldn't really find any cinematic footage, or like there were songs about it, but not that the vocalist acted in. And being able to give people a resource that they can hopefully grab onto and feel a little less alone, like I did that POD song that day. That's what the whole band is about. So, I usually have this medication on me for when I'm having panic attacks, and it helps heal that for the time being. I didn't have it that day. So it was like, would that have helped? Yes, but I think I was supposed to be withering that day.
Yeah. Wow.
I think there was something that needed to be said that I couldn't say, that the look on my face sitting on that bed can say.
Yeah.
So like hearing my mom say like, I love watching that video because I know what you've gone through, but it pains me to see you that way, because she knows. That video is a promise to not only myself and my family, but to God, that I'm not going to allow myself to get back in that. Like, in the video, it shows me like taking my coat off, throwing it on the jacket, going to bed, putting a pill in my mouth and laying down. Then at the end of the video, it rewinds back all the way to the front door and shows me like closing the door, to show it's a cycle, that it's something that I had to experience every day for years, since my senior year of high school. So now, like, there's a lot of stress relieving that comes from singing and screaming and being able to pour your emotions into songs. And my mental and physical health has worked in the better for that. And it's like, could God be healing my body through actually walking in my calling that I rejected for so long? Because I genuinely had, it was us and it was them, right? There's musicians and there's people that can do it. And then there's people like me that can help support it. I don't think there is an us and them. That was a lie that I was telling myself. And I think if you have something to say and you feel like you're supposed to do something, you can go look at an episode of Trevor Talks from 2 years ago of me telling Adam Gontier from 3 Days Grace, or now Saint Asonia, that I have no musical abilities. And that was 2 years ago.
Wow.
Like, it's on camera in that episode. I have no musical abilities. I think I made a joke like I could play Apple Music pretty well, just because I was so bought into it's us and them, and I'm good at this, and I'm going to keep doing this. And I built the podcast to do a lot of really cool things, and I got to tour it, but it wasn't. It started as an outlet during COVID, and then it turned into like something I felt like I had to do. And if you would have asked me then, will you ever put this down? No, I'm gonna ride it till the wheels fall off. But I had to go through all that hurt to get to where I could lay that down, because my identity was wrapped up in it. So if you're working a job you don't like, or if you feel like you're trapped in something and you feel like you're supposed to break into something else, you don't know how to do it. God has a lot of different ways he can make things happen. And sometimes it's letting you spiral out of control to where you can get a grip on your life and proceed to doing what you were made to do.
Yeah. Man, there's so much truth in that. You just dropped so many good pieces of information. Like, I just want to let that sit for a second. you know, like I'll rewind a bit back to like, I love the fact you're talking about, like, you know, there's not enough men out there that it's okay to show that you're broken. Because the reality is there are a lot of guys out there that are broken and just an absolute disaster. I think most of us truly are, if we're really honest with ourselves, but nobody shows it.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that we
hard.
acknowledge that, right?
Yeah, it's hard to show.
It is.
It's something that I hid for years. And then I found so much freedom in talking about it. And then that's where the podcast came out of, right? But towards the end, like, you can look at, I kept the last episode up with Dr. Kim. He's I believe he's a psychologist, like a professor. And he knows a lot of things. And his book was about burnout. And I think in that episode, maybe it's just me being hard on myself, but I don't think I was hiding much in that of, like, you could see on my face that I was so burnt out that I looked like I could fall asleep at any second. The last few episodes, like, they're kind of hard for me to watch. Watching Choose to Live from 2022 is hard for me to watch because I see it in my eyes. And it's something that I hid for so long. And it's like, let's go put that and show what I was hiding with, like, my life depended on it, and put it in a music video. You have to go through some stuff before you're open to do that.
Yeah.
And I hope people, or I wish people didn't have to experience that, because I know I would never want to go through it again. But maybe I had to go through that to get here.
Yeah.
To where I could explain in the way that I'm explaining it now, through music and letting these lyrics speak for themselves. Like you mentioned earlier, I don't do a lot of interviews. I'm mainly like, let's let the music speak for itself. But there are few people that I will sit down and have a conversation with, because at the end of the day, like, artists get put on this pedestal like they're pastors, and I'm not a pastor. I'm gonna make mistakes. We're all broken. Pastors are broken to a certain extent.
Trust me, yes.
So, and I'm not like, they're broken, like, we're broken. You are not God. You are human. So, like, it pains me to see, like, pastors fall, right? Fall from grace.
Oh, yeah.
Pastor Carl Lentz and his wife, like, he cheated on his wife, and then now he's back and he has a podcast with his wife, and that's gotten a lot of mixed reviews. But the B-side app that Lecrae has, his conversations, and then now Carl and Laura Lentz conversations, that's called healing your hurt, and that's called, like, moving forward.
Yeah.
Because it'd be so easy for them to just recluse and hide out of embarrassment and whatnot. Homie got humbled. He's out here talking about it.
Yeah.
Should he pastor again? I'm not God. But hearing that, and then there's an episode of Rita Springer's podcast that she did with Corey Asbury, and it was very raw in talking about what we just talked about, falling from grace and such. And that's where I heard about Carl from that episode. And I was like, this episode just wrecked me. And it's like, here I am starting a band and not wanting to, like, are you a Christian metal band? Blah, blah, blah. Like, a lot of faith-based metal bands are reluctant to call themselves Christian because of the attacks that we get online. You're not Christian enough. This sounds demonic. Why didn't I do music earlier? I had some trauma from childhood from my friend's parents telling me that that's devil music, and that's the only kind of music I like to listen to. So,
right.
Fun fact, we're all healing from something.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a lot of bands that have left the faith that started in, like, the faith, and it's hard because a lot of the brokenness there was brought on by being thrown up to be a pedestal, to be literally the gods of Christian metal. And I've got a lot of friends that have gone through that, and it's like, I have compassion and love, but it's, the church is still throwing stones, and it's like, I'm not saying it's warranted, and I'm not saying it's not warranted. That's not what I want to discuss or highlight. It's like, your faith can help bring, like, these songs to life, and it's what your whole life is based on. But the pressure of being an artist is pressure that I'm still having to learn. Like, people put you on a pedestal, people look up to you, people expect a certain thing out of you. And it's like, I don't feel good today. Like, I really feel like garbage, but you have to put a smile on and be nice because, well, don't want to get backlash online. Don't want to tick off the Christian metal groups today. There's so
we
much
know the one group, anyways.
And I love that group, and I'm not like,
yeah,
but
right,
you've
right,
seen
yeah.
like the fact that someone I've never spoken to in my life can say, we all know that group. Like, it hurts my heart.
Yeah.
And it's like, can we all, like, I totally get being like, you should do this because you're this, because that's what makes sense. But oftentimes they think because you don't have to look at this person in the face and you don't have to talk to them, that bashing them online is great. Like, that's fine. You're being a keyboard warrior. Like, ooh, you got 30 likes on this for saying something that everyone agrees with. And it's like, that's hard. And it's still something I'm navigating. So, like, again, like, so much love, like the Christian metal fandom, if you will, has embraced us and given us platform, and they've made way for things like Revolver to happen, and I'm super grateful for them. Are we a Christian band? We don't market ourselves as that, but if you read the lyrics and you feel the conviction, emotion, and you read them and feel the faith elements in there, I'll let you make that decision for yourself.
I love that. You brought this conversation into a place that I often land in these type interviews, and I'm glad you did, because it's a big part of like why I wanted to come back and do interviews again, is to talk about that, the identity of, because, well, okay, so I think I've told the story in one of my episodes, but I want to tell it again because I think it's just really interesting, right? And I'll name names, not really band names here, but like I was listening to the Labeled podcast. And I was listening to quite a bit of it. I'm like, it's very interesting because it was those stories of these bands that, those freaking Christians, man, you know, like,
yeah.
I put out this one song and they turn around and they stoned us, man. And that's like, I just walked away, man. I'm an atheist, and those stories were so prevalent in that. And, but it was story after story. It was episode after episode of that same thing over and over and over again. And I'm just like, man, can we tell some, like, let's tell some hurt, but what about some good from the hurt?
You got to be able to heal from it, right?
Yeah.
And I had to go through a lot of therapy to get to the point where I'm not doing that. Working in arena Christianity, how do you say this? Working in that realm almost cost me my relationship with God.
Yeah.
Because I got so bitter towards certain aspects of what happens behind the curtain.
Oh yeah.
I've now like grown closer in my faith in God,
I love it.
in my relationship with God. And people will hear that in the EP. Like, we've had, this doesn't sound Christian about all these singles. And it's like, go listen to the rest of the EP. Maybe they weren't singles. The intro, SOS, is called Suffocating on Sorrow, is literally me crying out to God because I don't want to be here anymore. And that's real. And these people that are talking about like the Christians stone me and such, it's hard putting yourself out there, number one. But number two, becoming a public figure in the faith, you have this other layer, this barrier that you have to put caution tape over things, and you have to watch what you say. When I know for a fact I've watched worship leaders and such clown around backstage saying things that they don't say on stage and having a good time. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I think there's a lot wrong with, you have to put on a show as a Christian. I don't use profanity in our lyrics and such, obviously. I remember being a young kid and being turned off by stuff like that. And I don't want to be a person that releases music that people can't listen to based off of an explicit advisory. Like, I just don't see a point in doing that.
Right.
But if I stub my toe, I'm not shouting praises. You know?
No, I certainly wouldn't either.
When I'm sitting in traffic, it's not break every chain. Like, I've gotten better about like humbling myself and being like, man, my car's still running. Like, it's a sunny day outside. I didn't get in a wreck. I didn't get a speeding ticket this time. You know, there's a lot to be grateful for.
Right.
And like, I think we could all do that, but I don't want to get too off of course. But being a public figure in the faith-based world it has its challenges. But honestly, like, if you surround yourself with people that are going to hold you accountable and love on you, and I've made a commitment not to be fake about any of my thoughts or hide away from conversations like this. I hope that instead of feeling a divisive spirit about it, that people that are listening to this that maybe disagree or are like, well, you should hold yourself up to this. Like, when you go into work tomorrow, make sure you're doing literally everything you're telling us to do.
Yeah.
Because if you're not, you're being a hypocrite, and that's sinful in nature as well. And I'm saying that to myself as well. So again, like, we're all healing. We've all got trauma and we all get triggered by things. And hey, if you've had a bad day at work and you hear one of your favorite artists say something that you don't agree with, man, it probably makes you blow off some steam and feel better about yourself to go bash them. But I would just like for everyone to be a little bit more mindful, because at the end of the day, people are humans and we have emotions and we have feelings. And just because you see us online looking all stoic and hard, like we have no emotions in these press shots, we all have days where we're not that. In fact, I've had more days than not where I'm not like that. I've grown thick skin and I don't care about the comments as much anymore, but we still read them, and it's still, we're still humans. We're all in the same groups. I don't care how big your band is, like, you see stuff.
Yeah.
And again, like, we can all hold each other accountable and love on each other and advocate for healing from hurt in our lives. But there is a toxic nature that comes with signing up to be a faith-based public figure.
Yeah.
And a lot of us didn't sign up to be that. We're like creating, it comes with that. So it's like, I'm not saying I didn't ask for that. Like, I love being able to give people some positive impact and some breakthrough through our vulnerability. I pray I never take it for granted. But yeah, the only reason I bring it up is because I see it more often than not now, of just people like rants and raves, like, love Striper, hate Skillet, love Skillet, hate Striper, August Burns Red's not Christian, fit for a king this, like Devil Wears Prada, la-di-da-di-da. Like, it's all pointing fingers. And it's like, one thing in Lacey Sturm's latest album, she talks about her like going into the Orthodox side of Christianity, and it's all about reconciliation in oneself. And it's like, if we were to all take those fingers that we're pointing at other people and pointing them at ourselves, I think we would be a lot more open to heal.
Yeah.
And break through from that.
Yeah. And that really is, so I'd make the joke about being where were we again, that's what the name is, but that is really what this is.
Yeah, where were we again?
Right. But that is this story. That is this podcast. That's why I wanted to do this. And you just encapsulate it all so well. And that's what to go back to that story though, is there was one episode they did that was exactly what I wanted. I said, I want that. And it was with Jason Dunn of Hawk Nelson. I'm not going to get too much into the details of that.
Yeah.
If you haven't heard that episode, go listen to that episode.
Pause.
Right.
Go listen to it.
All right. Now that you're back.
And then come back.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was just that it was this story, right? It was the story of he got burnt out. He was doing things that, he's definitely not a Christian anymore kind of stuff. He even said, oh, no, I don't believe anymore. He walked away. And then he got impacted in the most unexpected way. And now he's a worship leader who also has a band called Dunner, which is actually really kind of cool. He put out one single. It's actually really good.
Awesome.
But he's back, right? He's back and he's had redemption, and it's not about like it's not about the hurt. The hurt's a big part of the story, but it's about just like being a person. And I loved that episode, and I want to tell those stories. So that's where we are. And I'm going to tell you, I want to be, I don't know if anybody's done this yet, but I want to be the first person to say just thank you for just being you and telling your story through your art and being so real and just raw and laying it out there. Because your story is going to make huge impacts on all kinds of people and all walks of life, and is going to change lives. Thank you just for being you and doing the band, right? Because I mean, you've already laid out beautifully just like how, like, you never thought you'd even be here. You never thought you'd ever just have a single, let alone have recorded something, right?
100% true. 100% true. Even last year, right? At the beginning of last year?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So thank you for just stepping out and doing that, right?
Yeah, and I couldn't have done it without people like Mike Felker, people like Josh and Jared Bramlett, Patrick Sheckett from Convictions, Nick Gregory, Ryan Latrue of For Today Mix and Mastered It, Lacey and Josh Sturm, Sonny Sandoval, Tommy Green and Joe Holt of Holy Name. All these guys, and Steven Stanley, who is a CCM artist, all these guys went out of their way to make sure I felt loved and encouraged and supported it. And Brian Head Welch, like, all these guys, they didn't have to, and they've all made themselves available. And there's so many people. I could go on, and I hope that doesn't come across as name droppy at all. It's literally like, when you see people that you've worked with on the media side and all that stuff, see you start walking in your purpose, and instead of hiding from it out of like, oh, he's doing this thing, when they start rallying behind you, like, I don't care who they are, like, that's special.
Yeah, for real.
So, and even Mary Nickel, who's been on this podcast and booked a lot of people for this podcast,
right,
including myself. She's worked with me at Transparent for years, and I learned a lot from your episode with her today. And I just grow more and more in appreciation for her. And she's stayed through some really hard times with Transparent. Because being a business owner is not easy. Some days I'm like, how do we stay in business? Like, I don't get why we get paid to do this. And it's taken a lot of years to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And I've been self-employed for close to 5 years. And I don't say that lightly, because it's hard. Like, I haven't been sitting over here counting cash. Like, it's hard, especially when you start funding a band.
There's no money in this game. There's no money in this game.
No, there's not until there is, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people never get till there is. So there's always that risk that you're never going to see another dime. And genuinely, with everything in me, I'm going to keep making music. It might be a little slower of a process, because, the well gets tapped at some point. So I'm just grateful for the opportunity to be able to provide metalcore music in particular, because that's the genre that I gravitated towards when I needed it in middle school and high school. And I've never fallen out of love with metalcore. So being able to provide music, but in particular metalcore music, is a gift, and I feel it, and I hope other people feel it as well.
No, I mean, absolutely. But, I don't want to lose sight of appreciate you for taking those steps. And I know this journey is just getting started, so I'm super excited to even just be here now to have this conversation.
Thank you.
So I want to flip and start kind of turning things a bit differently. I want to talk about some other things. This band is fantastic, but I want to talk about how some of the other things you've done. But before we get too deep into that, I want to take a pause break and do something that it's funny you keep bringing up Mary's episode, but I think it was her episode was the first episode that I tried this, and it was just so much fun that I want to continue to do it. And now, after talking with you and knowing your background a bit, now I'm super excited because I want to see what you do with it, because I think you're going to go somewhere really fantastic with this. So here's what we're going to do. And normally I warn people on this, but I don't think you need it. So here's what we're going to do.
It was the first episode before you say it too, because I remember hearing it earlier.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm going to turn it over to you, and now you're going to ask me a question. No holds barred.
Okay.
You anything you want, and I'm going to answer it. What do you want to know?
Why do you continue to do this?
See?
Why do you wake up in the morning and want to do a podcast? Why do you continue to edit and make thumbnails and write descriptions and book artists that half the time may or may not appreciate what you're doing? Why do you show up and do that for people? And that's coming from an ex-podcaster.
Yeah, wow. See, this is why I was excited for you to ask this question, because that's a great question. Because I'll tell you this, like I've done stuff like this adjacent, right? I used to have a company called Christian Music Source. Similar kind of idea. I was pro to music and all that, and I got burnt out. I got married, I got burnt out, I got busy, and it was a lot going on. So I gave up. But I came back to it, and I do this all the time anyways, because I have a heart for these stories, the ministry of this, and the lives that can be changed by it. How music has impacted me, and I have a heart for that. It's my passion. It's something that I just want to tell those stories. I want to have these conversations and hear those stories. If nobody out there is going to ever listen to this episode or any other episode I've ever done or ever going to do, I just want to have this conversation and tell that story or be told, right? And so that drives me to want to keep going, because like, I want to just not only hear your story, but I want you to be encouraged by somebody wanting to hear your story and telling you to keep going, because that's my passion. It's always been my passion. It's something I do in all kinds of areas in my life. Is I want to continue to encourage and keep pushing others to do what they're called to do. And that's just where my heart lives, is in that place of wanting it's a term I've heard a lot lately, and sometimes I feel like it's cliche or burnt out, or not burnt out, but just like overused. But it's really the truth of like servant leadership, right? Except I use it a bit differently. I want to serve the leaders. Okay. Yep. That's where my heart has always been. That's why I've always done these things, is because I want to serve leaders. I'm like, let me help you do what you need to do. Whether it's like something that nobody will ever see, like let me help you go upload that thing or go do that thing or whatever it is, let me help you do it, whether I get seen or not. Yeah, you get to hear my voice in these podcasts, but I don't care about that. I want to hear your voice. But anyways, that's where I'm at. And it just excites me to get on these and have these conversations. Because yes, some days I'm like, I want to have the conversation, but I don't know if I want to have it today.
We all do, in whatever regard of what we're doing. Like, yeah. I'll wake up some days and I'm like, man, I don't want to do something today.
Yeah, no, for real. And I mean, if I'm really honest, today was that day. I'm like, man, I have had a really crazy long week already. Like, maybe I should just see if I can reschedule the next week and breathe. But
every time you do it, when you don't want to do it, you're happy you did it.
You're absolutely right, because that's where I'm sitting right now. Like, holy crap! Like, this has been such a great episode. Like, it's just great already, And so I'm just glad I took the step out to do it. So no, you're absolutely right. And I think that's just something that I'll stop and say, look, if that's your day, if you're listening to this episode and you didn't want to go do something today, that's when you got to fight through it and push through it, right? I mean, you talked about that with Withering, right? That was you with that music video, like, and how that music video was already just like probably going to make a huge difference on people's lives, because they're seeing that rawness and like you really didn't want to do it, and it shows. So whatever you're listening to, that's probably your sign of push through and do it anyways, right? So no,
And
yeah,
and thank you for doing what you do, because I used to record with bigger names, and more often than not, it felt very unappreciated.
yeah,
And I can say that now because that's not what I'm doing. Um, I got lied to a lot. I found myself feeling used and abused, and was like, why do I keep doing this? And then I would always come back to, these stories need to be told. And I still have that drive. It's just a different format.
yeah,
Like, I think podcasting, or I know podcasting is one of the number one consumptions that people like consume on a daily basis. They have their favorite podcasts they listen to.
mm-hmm.
Stories never get old.
No, gosh, no. That's human nature at its core. Is stories. That's how history was told.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just something that I never really, honestly, I never really thought myself as a storyteller. I'm not a writer. Not to say like I couldn't write something and tell a story about writing.
You say that, and in 2 years you're gonna have a book. That's what happened to me.
I mean, you're not wrong, but like, okay,
not the book. Yeah, but I'm not a musician.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, yes, but you know, and I say not to write. Like I've written fictional stories like growing up and stuff, and I honestly I still think they were actually pretty good.
Too.
I just don't like sitting down and doing it, right? And so that's never by nature. But this format allows me to do that. And
is that true though? Do you not like doing it, or does it just feel like a hassle, or maybe it feels like it's not going to amount to anything, and maybe there might be
some of that truth to that, right? Part of it, I'll just be not making a joke, but really is part of it's my ADD, ADHD, whichever it really is, because sometimes just sitting down and being in quiet, well, that's a whole nother thing. Is sitting down in the quiet is not okay.
I am working on a song right now called Afraid of Silence, and that's for the next thing. Like, it's not on the EP, obviously.
Sure.
And it's about that.
Yeah.
So I used to say the same thing, and you can't write if you're not bored. And I was so afraid of being bored, like out of FOMO, like I'm going to miss something.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And even a few weeks ago, the actual reason I wanted to write this song is because I was like, I can't write anymore. Like, I literally thought I had forgotten how to write, but I had just gotten so caught up in life and the agency and the analytics of stuff that I was afraid of silence. I felt like if I didn't post for the band like 3 times a week, that people were just going to go away. I was afraid of silence. And yeah, like, I'm an anxious person and such, but I really, there was something in me that was afraid of that silence. But at the end of the day, like, the peace and the solace that we find when we have that alone time where we're doing nothing is what refuels us to be able to do what we do even better and more powerful, because we have so much strength that we can build up when we recharge. If you don't allow yourself to recharge, you're going to run out of power.
Yeah. No.
So like, I'm afraid of silence. Yeah. And that's something that I'm actively writing. And it's a humbling thing when you can sit down and acknowledge, like, for some reason I don't want to be bored, but I need to.
Yeah.
And I need to be bored in order to create, because if you're trying to create and you have something in your ear all the time, it's kind of hard to be original, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it's been a process of me learning that. And again, going from pointing fingers at other people to pointing it at myself. I can't write, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, I was just being a baby because I wasn't allowing myself time to get bored.
Yeah.
And it's hard to write music when you're listening to music all day long.
Yeah.
Which I know you probably do as well. Like, music's my thing. I love it. And, excuse me. My favorite thing to listen to right now is Corey Asbury's record. And it's not a metal record at all.
No, not the slightest.
It's so honest. It's like sometimes babies die, and sometimes like blah, 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 like things happen.
Yeah.
And I have all things work together for good, but I don't want to butcher this because I don't want to see the group slide up. Everything happens for a reason, but it doesn't. Like, sometimes babies are stillborn, and sometimes you crash your car, and sometimes you feel like you don't want to live here anymore, and sometimes you get your heart broken by someone that you thought you loved, and sometimes you lose your job, and there's a lot of factors that go into things, and it can work together for all good, right?
Yeah.
But in nature, like, someone wakes up and decides they want to go harm someone. Did that person deserve it? No. Like, God didn't make that person do that. So sometimes things happen and we have to be okay with that. And what we do from that, yes, all things work together for good of those who love Christ.
Yeah.
Sometimes things happen that we can't explain, and you don't have to have a lyrical, poetic answer for everything. Sometimes you need to shut up. And I'm saying that to myself. Trevor talked way too much. And I went off the radar for a year. I didn't announce the podcast was on. I haven't even talked about that, like, publicly. I just quit, and I needed that time. And in that silence, I found my voice and found passion and purpose. But I needed that time away that I wasn't allowing myself, and it caused me to burn out and spiral and all the things. If you go trace it, it started with an insecurity somewhere of not wanting to stop because, oh, clients aren't going to be happy, or how am I going to get the next big podcast guest? Like, when you have a goal to get a guest on and you keep like getting them, and like you've done it 10 times, it becomes a rat race that you just keep spiraling into, and it's like snowball keeps getting bigger and bigger, but you stay the same size. But if you can separate yourself from the brand, and this is what I had to do for myself. Trevor Talks was my identity. I don't associate with that dude anymore. I had to step back and look at that for what it was, and it was a great thing for that season. And I look at Heal the Hurt right now, and I'm like, I do have a lot to say, but it's hard for me to say it if I don't allow time for God to speak to me. And sometimes you're told things, or you find things in scripture that aren't meant for everyone else.
Right.
And when you feel like you have to share every good thing, like, there's an insecurity there too. So you can be bold and you can be a person of faith, but if you're not allowing yourself time to recharge and reset, and at the end of the day heal, you're going to stay hurt.
Yeah.
So, like, if you want to be a writer and, oh, I don't have any ideas, or I can't sit down and do this, you can hold on to that crutch, like ADD. Like, for me, it was anxiety.
Yeah. Right.
You hold on to that, or you can kick the daggone thing out from under you and be like, all right, well, I might sit here for like a bunch of 1 hour sessions that might amount to 10 hours that may or may not become something, but there's purpose in it, and the recharge that you have is so needed, and it's so worth it. And take it from me, someone who had to give up everything to get to where I'm at now.
Yeah. I mean, and that's just so good. I mean, it really is. You know, I look back at that, and that's something that, I mean, because like I said, I've done this before, right? I haven't done a podcast, but I've done interviews. I managed a Facebook page promoting artists. And
you've interviewed Korn.
I did. Yes. I mean,
you interviewed Fieldy and Head, and you did a good job, and you should give yourself credit for it.
You didn't find that clip, did you? Oh no.
Oh, I found it.
Oh man. Yeah, he did. Oh yeah. No, it was hilarious.
Of course he did.
Yeah, right. No, but you know, I got burnt out, right? It's like, I'm like, I don't have time for this. And that's when I look at that now too, right? And by the way, let's be clear on this. If you guys listen to this episode and you're like, hey, why have I not heard an episode? Guess what? I took a break. And
God forbid somebody take a break.
I know, right? And you know what? That's okay. I mean, you know what? I went
Rude.
I think it's probably been, I would say almost 2.5, almost or so months between one episode to the next. Now there were some pictures and stuff from a festival in between there, but I wanted to take a break. I want to reset, get myself, because if I come into this and I'm not like, I'm not saying I have to be in a good place, but I like, if I'm burnt, like it's not going to come out right, and so I want to be real about that, so let's, but yeah, so I appreciate that. Right. Like I do okay at social media, but it's not my focus. I'm like, I'm going to put some posts out there occasionally and I'll promote the episodes as they come along, but I'm going to do it enough to where my mental health doesn't get sacrificed to do that. So if you get,
Absolutely.
if you guys see these episodes out there on Facebook, whatever, share them so I don't have to. No,
share them, comment on them, like them. Like, that's a free way you can help your favorite podcast or artist, is just by engaging with it. Like, if you see a post and you're like, oh, there's 50 likes or whatever, like, go comment, like, go share it, like, tag
people
them.
Can get 50 likes on a post. No.
9 times out of 10, I'm like, somebody will share something in their stories and I genuinely feel like, man, I'm grateful they did that.
Yeah.
Like, thank you. And I go thank them. Like,
I love that.
I don't, it just feels nice.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not like you're sitting there waiting on them to do it. It's like, I wasn't expecting that. Revolver. Like, I wasn't expecting that.
Thank you. Right.
I'm still not expecting it. Like, we may never see that again. And I have to be okay with that.
No, yeah.
And it's like, all right. Cool.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what we're here for. Like, it's cool. What if we don't get that on the next release? All right.
Darn.
Something's happened.
No. Look,
where were we again?
Right. No, but look, I mean, you hit on it, and I've said this so many times in so many episodes. I mean, it really is true. You engaging with your favorite artist. You think, oh, well, I'll listen to music. It's great and whatever. Like, I can't do anything to make them, whatever. No, I mean, you going and commenting on that post or just liking it, that doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't talk to you about more than a second. You see it, oh, that's cool. Like, walk away. That's plenty, right? Just doing those little things can actually make the biggest difference. In the world of social media and analytics and marketing and all of that, you just doing that help them dramatically, right? But on top of that, hey, by the way, go buy their music, okay? Because they still need to eat. A like on Facebook might help them eat like 6 weeks from now, but buying their music helps them eat tomorrow. But anyways, I'm glad you brought that up. So I know we've been on here for a bit, but I still want to bring this up and talk about this if you're still good. You've got some other big thing that you do that's come before all this, and you've kind of talked about it a little bit, but I want to talk about this. So talk about transparent media. What is that?
Yeah. What is it?
What is it? No.
It is my pride and joy. It is, though. Over the last few years, I think it's like 4 years, I've gotten to wake up and serve clients that I love to work with. It started from getting a foot in somebody believed in me to work for their agency, and then things didn't work out there, and I kind of got thrown into like, do I go find another job or do I start my own? And that day I was like, I'm not like Donald Trump. I didn't get a small loan of $1 million. I just literally had to get a logo made and figure it out. Right. So I get to serve rock bands and nonprofits, events, podcasts, artists, authors, etc., with everything from social media curation to release strategy to booking interviews and such, which Mary does for us, the lovely Mary.
Fantastic job. Thank you, Mary.
Her praises. She's the best. Yes. So yeah, I get to work with a lot of really cool bands and brands and organizations that get to help a lot of people. So it's like, if any of our clients, you're like, man, they post like that artist is so on it. Like, a lot of times that's me.
Yeah. Right.
And that's another thing. Like, when your job is making other people seem busy and stuff, it gets a little weird mentally. Right. Now it doesn't, because I allow myself time to get bored and figure out what I'm created to do. So yeah, like it started with a passion for music and a love for music and probably 10 years of free labor. Starting like volunteering at Winter Jam events with Miss Cindy Blankenship, who is backstage with Mothership. She took me to my first Winter Jam to volunteer.
Go listen to her stuff.
We worked merch for Red on Winter Jam in Atlanta when they were promoting the Release the Panic album. And she took me to see August Burns Red for the first time, which was also way back younger. And yeah, like we've been able to work on a lot of really awesome releases. We've gotten to build 2 suicide prevention live streams with heart support called the first one was Choose Life and the second one was Choose to Live. We've gotten to work with a lot of bands I grew up listening to.
Love that.
And it's just very special. And I don't want to get caught up on like who and where and all that stuff. But man, I found myself in some rooms that I've continuously had to pinch myself. And I would say all the work that went into Transparent is what opened up a lot of the doors to do music the way I'm doing it and with the people that I'm doing it with. It all started from a servant's heart, and somewhere along the way I got misdirected in that, and I had to recenter my focus to get back to that. So Transparent is, I would guess you would say, a communications agency. We just help people communicate their message and roll out their music, their movies, whatever it may be. I've worked on like tour marketing for the I Still Believe film, Flyleaf last year, which was nuts. I've worked with Lacey Sturm for 7 years, and we got to serve Love and Death, Brian Head Welch's side project, Sonny Sandoval, POD, The Protest, and a lot of. And I hope some bands don't listen to this. Why didn't you mention me? It's like what 8904. Like I can't name.
I mean, really,
but,
yeah.
John Schneider from the Dukes of Hazzard. That was one of my favorite like full circle moments. Which we landed that job, like me working on that, through my podcast episode with so like you never know what's going to come from a podcast episode. Somebody might hear it and things like it's wild.
Right.
But yeah, like we've gotten to work with a lot of really cool bands and brands, and like we just helped put together Rock Against Traffic in Pomona with Holy Name, Impending Doom, Convictions, Dynasty, and Meadows. That was a
killer lineup.
Like, so all the money went to Run Against Traffic to help provide quality aftercare for survivors of human trafficking. So like we raised over $7,000 in one night for those people that are coming out of that. And a lot of things like that where I'm like, dang, like this is insane. Like I have no business being here. And I say that, and it's been over 10 years. Like I've been doing the thing, right? Like in different capacities, and I'm really grateful, and I've worked hard, you know? Jeremy Camp told me one day, he's like, you know, it's okay to be good at something, because I would just downplay everything. Like, oh, it's not, and like, it's okay to be good at something. And I've never forgotten that. So yeah, like Transparent is something I have the privilege of waking up and running every day, just being able to help communicate for the Whosoevers, which is an amazing ministry.
Right.
Like I've served with them over 3 years now, which is wild to think about because I grew up on the Whosoevers. So yeah, we get to help people communicate and bring hope. And I wake up every day pinching myself and just feel like I have the privilege of doing it. And every day is not easy, right? Like we're kind of in a recession, not to Debbie down anybody, but it's hard. Like, but you know, everybody has their things they battle with, and everybody has their thing about their job. Like it's no different for me, but I'm grateful, and I'm really excited to be able to do that every day.
I mean, that's about as good as you could possibly ask for. I mean, it really is, right? Because that's what I want to do, right? Eventually, I want to be able to just quit my job and just come out and do what I'm passionate about. And, and part of that.
And then it becomes your job. And then you find things about that job that you don't like too.
That's the truth.
And it's like, I wish I could get to this. And it's human nature, right? It's a never ending game of, I wish I could. Yeah. And then you figure out that dogs have been peeing all over that grass, and that's why it's so green. It's like, dang, like, okay, like that's fine.
Right.
Like, and chase your dreams, chase your calling, essentially. Like, don't hold back from that. But just know, like, some days, like, waking up and being a vocalist is hard. Right. The thought of being on tour, like all the anticipation, anxiety, and such, it is hard.
Yeah.
So, but I love it, and I don't want to do anything else. So you just have to fight through it. And therapy, medication, Jesus, like all those things can work in unison.
Yeah.
So don't forget that.
Absolutely. So we're gonna wind this down, and I appreciate you coming on. It's been an amazing episode, and I'm really excited to get to put this out there for somebody to hear, because somebody's going to hear it, right? I'm going to say that somebody's going to hear it. But anyways, thank you. Now, I do this on every episode because it is so vitally important. I was talking with Michael about this last week, on the last episode with convictions. And the reason I do this piece is because we've talked about it so much in this episode, but the reality is like, whether it's just one person that listens or I get this in front of 1 million people, we have a platform. We have a voice, and I want to give you an opportunity to share whatever that important message is to you. And whatever this message is that is so important for you to get out right now, this is your chance. Like, whoever's out there listening right now, this is what they need to know.
It's easy to get stuck in saying the same thing over and over. And it's like, oh, he's going to say something about mental health right now. But, today, like whatever day it is, on August 15th, 2024.
Spoiler alert, pre-recorded episode.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, gratitude is on my mind. Being grateful. Being grateful for the opportunity to steward these songs and create, and being grateful for people that help make it happen behind the scenes that never see it. Being people like you, Andrew, Mary Nickel, Katie Slater from Jesus Wired, Cindy Blankenship and the Solid Rock Radio fam, Rock for Him podcast, Sean Ely, Kingdom Core, Chad Fenner, who's a photographer, Annette Holloway, Matteo Odi, Semper Metallum. And I can keep going and going and going and going and going. And if you're listening to this and I didn't mention your name and you're like, oh, I wish you said that, like, this is for you too. Gratitude, and genuinely nothing else. Like, I'm grateful to get to wake up and write and pour my heart into something I love, and also like work 10 to 12 hours a day with clients that are giving hope. And I'm grateful for a chance to be alive and be me, right? This generation is like very much so on top of like own your identity and such, and it's like, man, for me, my faith is my identity, and I'm grateful. So gratitude. I hope that you can walk away from this episode with some people in your mind to just say thank you, or check in on people you love, because you never know what they're going through. So I'm grateful.
Man, that's a fantastic way to end. That's it right there. Beautiful. And as always, before we really let you go, I want to make sure that people have an opportunity to follow you and follow what you do. So, brand new EP just came out 2 weeks ago. Okay.
Yeah.
How do we get it?
It's on all the streaming platforms. If you search Heal the Hurt, healthehurtband.com, or at Heal the Hurt Band on any social platforms. Our little bio link is like bio.to/Heal the Hurt. That has like all the updated links that we keep up. And
yeah.
I hope that people can walk away from this with some gratitude and go blow up your socials and comment and all the things, like share episodes with people, because they don't realize, like, if you share an episode of a podcast with somebody, they can show it to someone else and it just starts. But oftentimes they're like, oh, somebody else is going to share it with somebody, and they don't. So I hope that people can do that.
No, I love it.
Yeah. Be the one to start that.
No, for real. But I mean, yes. So do that, but go check out Heal the Hurt. Go follow them. Go like them, because this is just the beginning. We're just getting started. So I'm hoping as things keep going and things in the future, you come back. I would love to have you back and have this conversation again, because who knows what comes next. So anyways, thank you for coming on. It's been a fantastic episode. As we're kind of winding down, you're starting to hear the theme music come back up. Thank you to Mac for letting me use your song, Won't He Do It? Because as you're hearing that, man, it is the theme of this episode. Like, won't he do it, right? So thank you guys for listening. Go check us out on Facebook at Where Were We Again? And we'll catch you on the next one.
Hail to the glory, hail to the glory. Won't it do it? Yeah, it brought me through it, nah.